bone health. Yeah, I love. Well, that's another thing. Nearly every class I teach now, I teach. I've got 9 regular classes a week in my local community, and then I do a bit of cover here and there. Every class, I have a woman put her hand up saying they've got a bone condition now. Every class, at least one. So last night I taught at David Lloyd. Had someone osteoporosis in her knees. She wasn't very old at all. I think she was actually a bit younger than me. Saturday class, same thing. I was teaching a weights class. Yeah, same thing in the knees. Someone else, osteoporosis. Lucy comes to Pilates. She osteoporosis in the spine. That was yesterday. So yeah, it's that discussion around that is becoming more and more prevalent and more common. Literally every day I'm having a conversation with someone about their bones, and so that's why I make sure it's included in the course, and what movements are going to help with bone density, because it's quite a fine line. If someone already has a bone condition, whether it's osteoporosis, osteopenia, or osteoarthritis, there's a really fine line with regards to doing too much and doing too little, because we obviously don't want that bone density to get any worse, but we also don't want to damage the bone while exercising, which can, if we're working with lots of long levers, lots of long holds, balancing where they might fall, etc. So you've got to be really thoughtful if you're a teacher of any kind of movement dealing with that demographic. So that's why it's particularly important including that in the training, because of course, as you know, as estrogen drops, that's going to affect our bone replacement, our bone recovery, etc. So yeah, super important. And then another area I got really into recently, just from being back at university. So I'm currently doing, I know you know, Rach, but just I'm currently doing a master's in exercise physiology, and I feel like it's so nice. I feel like my synapses are finally waking back up after having children. I'm like, oh, they do work. They are in there. I just needed the right subject to study. Something that's been mind-blowing for me is the decline in cardiac health in menopausal women is unbelievable, the statistics. Why there's not more of a conversation around that, I don't know. I just don't understand it. But I've already decided my thesis will be on that, how we can use exercise to decrease blood pressure and therefore improve cardiac health. Because it's actually quite simple to do. It's not even that complex. There's a study I was reading. Well, it was a systematic review actually of different studies that had applied different exercise techniques to, this was in particular postmenopausal women up to the age of 65, on what type exercise frequency and type was most effective in bringing blood pressure down significantly, systolic in particular, because that's obviously when the pressure is more, when the heart is actually contracting, diastolic relaxing. I know you know. And it was unbelievably simple. It's three times a week of 20 minutes of exercise combined, though. It had to be cardiovascular and weight training, or weight training doesn't even need to be necessarily lifting up a weight. You can use your body weight as long as you're safe on the joints if they've got bone challenges. And I was like, this needs to be out there more, that it's this simple. And just by increasing systolic blood pressure by 3, so say if it's 167, which is high, let's say 147, that's more likely, and we just break down to 144 over whatever the diastolic is, you can decrease the risk of stroke, which obviously can be a result of impaired cardiac health, by 8%. So 8 women in 100 could avoid stroke just by training 3 times a week, the right kind of exercise. I find that mind-blowing, the amount of are not doing that, or doing the wrong kind of exercise. That was another thing that came out, I noticed from reading this systemic study. Rather, some women are exercising so intensely because they're concerned about their weight gain, predominantly their belly fat. I hate that term. That's why I'm doing that wanky thing where you do it with your fingers, because that's not my terminology, but I get lots of adverts on it. They're actually putting themselves in a hypertensive state from training too intensely for their current blood pressure. So this is my kind of current area of interest, particularly keen interest, as well as bone density. So I have started bringing that into the training, what I've found so far. But I just, you know, when you find there's so much, you're like, I just study this for the rest of my life now, because there's so much there to learn, but also to get the word out. And what I want to achieve by the end of my master's degree is that we will have I'll have an exercise program that I can put out, that I can, whether it's, or pre-recorded or live or whatever, or people coming to classes, that will be that overload of the body enough that we increase bone density and we improve cardiac health without exhausting the woman or creating hairline fractures, which I've heard happening in certain classes that aren't appropriate for that particular demographic. So there's a ton of work to be done, but it's not that hard. It's doable, it's doable. We just got to do it in the right way, which is why, another reason why I started this sort of yoga teacher training school up is I just felt like stuff wasn't being done as effectively as it could be, especially for the female demographic, going through these different cycles of pregnancy, postnatal, post-hysterectomy, post-menopausal, perimenopausal. There's just so much to be done, and actually the answers aren't always that complicated either. It's just people need the right information in the right way.